And a pleasant good afternoon from Bramlage Coliseum, where for the third straight meeting, the Kansas State Wildcats have taken the measure of the Kansas Jayhawks in the Dillon's Sunflower Showdown. It is an 81-73 victory for the Red Hot Wildcats, who are now winners of 5 in a row overall and back over 500 for the first time since early January, back to 500 overall in the Big 12 Conference, while it's a third straight disappointing Saturday performance for the Kansas Jayhawks. I'm Dan Lucero. I am high atop Bramlage Coliseum. Had a great vantage point for this one, and this is a Sunflower Showdown instant reaction on our 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel and also on our Facebook page at WIBW News. Hit the subscribe button if you're on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. We appreciate you doing so, and thanks for taking some time out of your afternoon to hang out here for this instant reaction, and a thank you to those of you who are maybe catching up with it later on in the archive post, again, on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get into this one. K-State winning is not a surprise. They're playing extremely good basketball right now, while KU has been middling up and down, you could say. And K-State has now made a habit out of winning here at Bramlage. Jerome Tang is 3-0 at Bramlage Coliseum against the Kansas Jayhawks. David Gasson, 3-0 against the Jayhawks in his time as a Wildcat at Bramlage Coliseum. So it's not them winning that is a surprise. It's the how of it all. Because K-State took a double-digit first-half lead, and some of that, be frank, had to do with the fact that DeJuan Harris got into major foul trouble and only played 4 minutes in the first half. That was critical in this game, is that KU's point guard wasn't on the floor, and when Harris doesn't play, you saw this in the game that he missed against UCF, KU's defense is all over the place. It's not in a good way. You know, sometimes not all over the place on defense is good. In this case, I don't mean it as a compliment. They look discombobulated. They look disconnected on defense without Harris kind of at the helm at the top of the key. And offensively, they don't quite look like they find the same rhythm without their veteran point guard out there. And him only playing 4 minutes of the first half was critical in this game. But that being said, K-State builds a double-digit lead. They lead by 8 at the break. Rylan Griffin gets KU within 5, hitting a three-pointer to start the second half. And then KU never gets closer than that. If you're like me, you've watched a lot of KU basketball over the years. And the thing about KU, they're never out of a game. You always feel like the run is coming. You always feel like Bill Self's going to pull the right strings and KU stars are going to play like stars and things are going to start rolling downhill and the other team's going to tighten up because those jerseys do say Kansas after all, and that means something. You wait for that run to come, and I'm sitting up here up at the top of Bramlage Coliseum waiting and waiting and waiting, and all of a sudden you look up and there's a minute and a half left and K-State's up by 13, and that was the point at which I realized, hey, that train is late. That run is not coming for the Jayhawks in this game. And that was the most stunning thing to me. Not that K-State played well, because right now they're playing as well as anybody in the Big 12. And really, honestly, for the last month, they're playing as well as anybody in the country. So it's not them winning that's a surprise. It's the fact that they kind of won easily, that KU never threatened, never spooked the Wildcats, never made things feel a little tight, never got to the murmurs and the mumbles. Second half was a party here at Bramlage. They played Sandstorm. People chanted, bleep KU. It never got really close. KU never put that run together, and that's amazing because I could count on one hand the number of times I've seen KU play a team and not have the juice to string a run together. And we'll talk about why in a little bit. But I wanted to start with the winning team. I want to start with KU in this game, 81-73. And Jeffrey in the YouTube comments, appreciate you hanging out, Jeffrey, this afternoon, asked the big question. Where was this team earlier in the season? And look, it all turned around when Doug McDaniel and Coleman Hawkins started playing like this. Night in and night out. You're getting excellence from your two best players if you're Jerome Tang. And it took Doug's excellence to unlock Coleman Hawkins's excellence, I think. Those two have to be great, and McDaniel's greatness helps Hawkins do the things that he's great at. Doug McDaniel had a double-double in this game, 15 points, 11 assists, also had 6 rebounds. It was a masterful point guard game from him. He set the tone early on and really had the game on a string in the first half. And then Coleman Hawkins, 37 minutes. You're going to look at the box score and say 12 points, what's the big deal? Then you look at the rest of the box score. 5 rebounds, 8 assists, 5 blocked shots, 1 steal, so 6 stocks. Like, that's the kind of game you're looking for from Coleman Hawkins. Those contributions on both ends of the floor, the playmaking ability, the ability to step out and hit a three-pointer. He knocked down a couple, part of a big night for K-State from 3. They made 11 of their 27 threes, 41%. Were 7 of 15 in the second half to keep KU at arm's length. But Hawkins is great because his role makes more sense, because Doug McDaniel is playing the point guard, the distributor, the creator role at a really high level. And then everybody else has figured out what it is they're supposed to do around that. Max Jones, chip in and be sort of the glue guy. He had 12 points. I thought he was really good in the first half, got in some foul trouble, but I thought early in the game, especially Max was really good. Brendan Hawson, make your threes. It was a tough night shooting for the Armadillo assassin, but he did knock down 3 second-half triples, including one that was the dagger with about 2.5 minutes to go, and also pulled down 5 rebounds, and also, I thought, played good defense on the other end. I think Hawson is rapidly improving as a defensive player. And then there's David Gasson, all reliable, 20 points on 13 shots, 7 rebounds, played terrific defense on the other end of the floor. Just another super game for David Gasson, who's, I don't know that he's going to be first team all Big 12, but he better at least be second team all Big 12. He's having a wonderful year. The guys off the bench gave good minutes. It was a short rotation. David Castillo only played 2 minutes. C.J. Jones, 21 minutes, hit a 3 in the first half. I thought those were 21 good minutes. Jerome Tang made sure to mention C.J. in the postgame in his radio interview. And Moby Ike-Garuke. I want to talk about Moby because I love Moby. And I think if you're a K-State fan, you should too. Moby might be your favorite player right now if you're a K-State fan. It was really fun to watch Moby this last month and watch a player go from, boy, everything's going really fast and I don't know what it is necessarily that I need to do to help my team, to now Moby understands exactly what he has to do to help the Wildcats. Number one is jump really high. Moby Ike-Garuke jumps higher than any Wildcat I can remember in recent memory. They're preposterous hops. He jumps so high, sometimes I'm worried about him landing. Like, he gets up there, his elevator's got a different floor than anybody else. And that and his motor, his energy, that allows him to play big. I went into this matchup thinking we were going to see Ugo and Yenso tonight, like we did in the first meeting between these two teams at Allen Fieldhouse about a month ago. And Yenso played well in that game, and he was kind of necessary in that game because of the size of Hunter Dickinson. Now, tonight, Jerome Tang went with Moby. And Yenso caught a DNP. He went with Moby off the bench for 10 minutes to spell Gasson and Hawkins. And Moby's only 6'6", but he plays bigger. He plays like he's 6'9", 6'10", because he can jump, because he's long, because he plays with so much energy. And he chipped in 6 points. He hit a floater. He's not just making dunks and layups. He hit a little floater over Hunter Dickinson in the second half. So Moby's doing the little things and understanding, and the game is coming to him a little bit more. And it's been really, really cool to see that. So Moby's been a lot of fun. Great win for the Cats. They're playing as well as anybody in the country right now. And look, it is still premature to start having the conversation about, well, can they win the Big 12 tournament, or what's it going to take to get them into the NCAA tournament? It's still too early for that. Way too early to talk about that for a team that's 12-11. But they keep putting one foot in front of the other. They keep stacking good performance on good performance. They've got another chance for a quality win Tuesday night when Arizona comes to town. They win that game, then I think we can start to put them back into the bubble conversation firmly if they can go beat Arizona, who's playing great and 9-1 in the conference going into today. That's K-State half of it. What about KU tonight? KU for the third straight Saturday just doesn't play particularly great. Saturday has been a tough day for the Jayhawks. the last 3 weeks is, of course, they had the disaster blown game in double overtime against Houston. And then last Saturday, the mess at Baylor. And then this game where, again, they just never threatened in the second half. They never put it together. Hunter Dickinson played, I thought, mostly well. 21 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, what you would expect from Hunter Dickinson. It did take him 16 shots to get those 21 points. Zeke Mayo, 15 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. They need a little more from him most nights offensively. Typically at home, Zeke Mayo gives them that. On the road, he has struggled to give them as much offense, but I didn't think Zeke was bad necessarily. KJ Adams did what KJ Adams does, 13 points, 5 rebounds. I thought he defended Hawkins pretty well and kept Hawkins from scoring. But it comes down to the other guys. It comes down to the supporting cast, and KU's wings, once again, not good enough. Rylan Griffin couldn't find his shot. 1 of 6 from behind the arc, and they were good looks. They were scheming looks for Rylan Griffin to start the second half, and he made 1, and he missed a couple of others. Ended up 1 of 7 from the field, 1 of 6 from behind the arc. He was a -10 in his 19 minutes. AJ Storr scored 9 points, but it took him 10 shots to get there, and he was his usual negative on the defensive end. Flory Badunga played 16 minutes, but was not as impactful as he typically is, and sometimes that happens to a freshman, particularly on the road in a hostile environment, and this was a hostile environment. Bramlage was rocking. You would never know the difficulties of December and January had ever happened to this Wildcat team the way the crowd was up for this one today, naturally. I mean, it is, after all, the Sunflower Showdown. But it has to be some contribution from the supporting cast for KU. They have to get scoring, and they didn't from the wing tonight. 15 from Zeke is fine, but 12 combined from Griffin and Storr, and 2 of 11 from behind the arc for those two. That is not going to cut it, especially on a night where you give up 81 points. And defensively, again, I thought the big problem for Kansas was in the first half where DeJuan Harris wasn't on the floor. And they're just a radically different team defensively. They couldn't get a handle on Doug McDaniel, and everything offensively for K-State flowed from there. Everything was really easy for K-State in the first half, and it allowed them to build that lead. And then the second half, what kept them with the lead was they were getting open threes, Doug putting ball pressure on the defense, allowing for some open shooters, and Hawkins and Hawson knocked down some big triples in that second half. KU's still a team with a really high ceiling. I still believe in the ceiling of this Kansas team because Dickinson can be so dominant, because Zeke Mayo can be really, really good, because they have veterans who know how to win big games and have won big games together. But it's a lower floor for Kansas than we're used to seeing because they don't have as much supplemental scoring, and the play from the wings is just not consistent enough. And that's why Kansas finds themselves out of the Big 12 title picture. They're 7-5 in league now. They're only 1 game ahead of K-State in the Big 12 standings. That is a true statement on February 8th, after everything these two teams have been through. And I don't just mean K-State and their 6-game losing streak earlier this season and their slow start in non-conference. I mean the fact that KU was the #1 team in America to start the season. Fun fact, not so fun fact if you're a KU fan, a preseason #1 Jayhawk team has never won a national championship. And this doesn't look like the group that's going to change that around. Like I said, I believe in the ceiling, but is it national title ceiling? It's hard to say that the answer is yes. And it does feel, again, like the returns are diminishing. The teams have kind of figured out how to play them. Bill Self is a great coach. I don't think he's forgotten how to coach. He's got to come up with some answers. This is why they pay Bill Self the big bucks. He's got to get the Ducks back in a row for this KU team. And it has to start with better play, especially on the road from Mayo, but got to have a solution on the wing. Got to. One or both of Griffin and Storr has to be a positive for you every night if you're going to be really good, or if you're going to beat a team playing as well as K-State is right now. You're not going to do that without some production from those guys. That's been the story all year. It was the story again today. I got one more nugget for you watching. Shout out to Vance in the YouTube live chat. Thanks for hanging out. Vance says, I'm throwing out nuggets like Mitch Holtis. I got another one for you. Anybody remember the last time K-State has beaten KU 3 straight times at Bramlage Coliseum? That's a trick question because they've never done it at Bramlage Coliseum. You have to go all the way back to the Ahern Fieldhouse days, 1980s, for the last time that K-State won 3 straight games in Manhattan over the Wildcats. It was part of a 5-game winning streak over the Jayhawks, excuse me. It was part of a 5-game winning streak in the series for the Wildcats. You go back to the early 1980s, and it was actually 4 consecutive wins, including a Big 8 tournament game back when they used to play on campus. K-State beat KU in Manhattan at Ahern January 28th of 1981. Did it again January 23rd of 1982. Did it in the Big 8 tournament March 2nd of 82. And then did it a 4th straight time January 29th of 1983. So that's how far back you have to go for 3 straight wins of any kind and 3 straight regular season wins in the Sunflower Showdown. It not only predates Bramlage, it probably predates the game being called the Sunflower Showdown, if I had to guess. That's how long it's been since K-State has pulled this off. And it was no fluke. It was no mistake. You know, the last couple of years, it had been overtime games here at Bramlage between KU and K-State. And KU left those games feeling like, gosh, we were really unlucky not to win those games. Nah, the team that played better, no doubt about it, won this game and was in control of this game for all 40 minutes. K-State, red hot. Who's playing better in the Big 12 right now than the Tang Gang? They're 12-11, back over 500, 6-6 in the Big 12. Another big home game coming up Tuesday night against Arizona, who came into this weekend ranked number 20 in the country. For KU, they get a little bit of a get-right opportunity Tuesday night with Colorado coming to town. Colorado has not won a Big 12 game this season, and if they don't win tonight, I wouldn't guess that their trip to Allen Fieldhouse would be their first. So KU's going to get back going. I firmly believe that. I'm a believer in Bill Self. I'm a believer in the stars on that team, but I do think that their floor is a little lower than we anticipated it would be because they just haven't gotten enough from Griffin and Storr. Those are the guys that really elevate them or supposed to elevate them on a night where you're playing against a team that's playing really well. And they did not today, and you see the result. K-State wins it 81-73. We'll talk a little bit about this game on Monday's edition of 580 Sports Talk. Of course, there's also a big game tomorrow that we'll have plenty to say about on Monday's edition of the show. And if you are not out and about and shooting off fireworks in revelry or drowning your sorrows, either way, after Super Bowl 59 tomorrow night, myself and my colleagues, Brendan Dworzinski and Spencer Dupuis, will have a Super Bowl instant reaction for you on these same video channels, WIBW News on Facebook and the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. One more time, the final score from Bramlage Coliseum, K-State 81, number 16, Kansas 73. I'm Dan Lucero, bidding you a wonderful rest of your sports weekend and leaving you with a hearty Go Chiefs here on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel and WIBW News on Facebook.